What's up guys, it's Unders, and in today's video I'm going to show you how you'd build a melody in a drum and bass track. Now be forewarned, this is going to ruin a lot of the classic drum and bass tracks for you because you'll realize that pretty much all of them use these exact methods. Now I'm going to use a main room style tune, but honestly, even if you're going into liquid, a lot of the theory and techniques we use remain the same. Alright, so here's a little clip from what we're going to be using. That's it, relatively simple, sounds like drum and bass, right? Today's video is sponsored by DistroKid. They are my digital music distributor. They get my music to all of the major stores, and they do it at a price an independent artist like me can easily afford. If you want to get your music out there in the same way, check out the description below for a discount on your first year of distribution today. So let's just break down why these bits work and how we end up coming with this kind of rhythm. First things first, we're in F. There's no limit really. You can choose any key in any mode you want to write in. F, G, F minor are the big ones because they give you loads of bass notes. This is in F. The genre it sits in sits perfectly with that. That means we're going to be probably leading off of an F note, and as you can see here, we've got an F as the first thing that drops, and then the sequence right through. Now we only use a couple of the notes. We don't even use a pentatonic scale in this. We literally bounce between a couple of notes, and it's about the rhythm more than anything. So DnB is really rhythm based, and it's about playing with that rhythm. So let's take the first bar here. Now I have to select all of these together because they all work together, but they do function independently. So if I choose just this here, we've got just one single note, which is an F. And that's the first thing that drops in. All right, then we've got Ripper, and that counterbalances with that straight away. And on top of these, we've got the leads, and they're just following that initial bass tone there. So when we have these two together, these two make the bass, right? Now this initial hit here with the extra kind of layer on top of it, just to kind of signify our sound base, like our what's going to be happening in this track, what kind of vibe we've got in terms of the sound. We just impact with them right off the bat. Right, it's just all the sounds working together to give that boom, there's this big hit of sound as we come in. Then comes into the rhythms, right? In drum and bass, and most music that's in 4/4, you're gonna have some key rhythms or key spaces in rhythm that really work for you. So you're gonna have 4/4, you're gonna have eighths, and you're gonna have sixteenths. The reason this track works the way it does is it plays between the eighths and the sixteenths. So here, for example, we're playing between the eighths. So we've got basically a 4 on here with some eighths, and then we lead off here into the 16th. If this was on eighth, it would trigger here and be like this. It's here, and we now go into the 16th, and then for this little bit, it goes in 16th. So we go eighths here, playing with the 4, into the 16th, and then we move over into the response to that. A lot of the time in drum and bass, you're gonna have a call and response. This can be two different sounds, two different basses playing together, much like we've got here, but there will also be a change in rhythm or tone or length of note. So here we go from eighths to a very quick 16th to a long stretched out note that covers a whole bar. So we go from triggering all of these notes in one bar to literally one note that slides up. So that covers 2 bars. We've got fast rhythm, long bar. Then from there, we now do more of a call and response type thing in that they behave slightly differently, and we bring another sound in as well. This, we've now got another rhythm. Now this is on the eighths, there's 3 hits across it. And the way this works is we've got one hit that covers 1/4, so 1/4, but by moving it onto the 8, we have one trigger in the middle and then one trigger back on. Now the reason this pattern works so well is because of the really common break patterns in drum and bass. If you don't know what those break patterns are, I suggest going back a step, watching the video I'll link below, which is about the break patterns of drum and bass and generally electronic music, and you'll understand a bit more of why this works so well. is because we're having some play around with the drums and where they land. You see, our drums in a pattern will often land here on the 1, snare on the 2. So we're landing with the kick, snare, then the bass gets to do its own thing, and there generally won't be a kick here. There's not going to be a kick that interferes here either. The kick tends to come in just here. So they really play on that shuffle and balance. Whereas the drum patterns are shuffling forwards, this rhythm is syncopation backwards. So they juxtaplay really well together. This note has all the space to itself. This one landed on the kick and this one lands on the snare. It helps give that shuffle and feel, right? Now in the next pattern, we then use 3 notes again, but we've changed it. We've gone for that quarter with a little gap to give some separation of the sound, and then we're doing 4 on the floor. Yeah, so we're using just the 3 notes, but dun dun dun. So again, we've changed that rhythm and feel, and the juxta of that gives us this feeling. When it all goes together from fast rhythm, long note, and then those 3 triplets with the call and response of the sounds, we get the kind of conversation that happens in a DnB track. Now I use the lead sounds to really beef up this bass, so the conversation, as it were, goes like this. From there, you could literally repeat that pattern over and over with some slight tweaks in the drums, and you're going to be where you want to be. On the next section, I like to juxtapose that a little bit, right? But we're following along the same premise. This time we're going the 4 on the floor, and then we quickly move into the 16s. And to juxtapose that fast 16s, we've got another whole bar stretched out tones. This time they're layered up with another sound, so the call and response is a little quicker. And this time we've got another call and response happening at the end rather than the duplication of the heavy bass. So, you know, there's been a faster response, a development in conversation that ebbs and flows and moves, right? Right, so this time the conversations moved a little quicker. So let's take this whole 16 bar section now and listen to how all those responses work together. And I'll leave just the kick and the snare in because they give context to how and why these rhythms work. Let's listen to the whole thing in context. Alright, so we're introducing another sound and we've got the context of that in there as well. And from there, that then does repeat. So the 16 bars goes on and repeats in the same fashion, the same conversations had, the same call and response. After that though, we change drastically and we kind of get a winner for the conversation. Now, I intend to put a vocal over this part, which is why we've done it, but it is important to have a look at the notes themselves, followed by the response of the 4 on the floor, moving into 8ths, moving into 16ths, so we're getting faster and faster and faster in terms of the rhythm, and then one note flat out with a slide up back into the triplet. So that would go like this. And that's why that works. So that's been an insight into how to make a drum and bass melody. If you do want to learn more about the break side of things and you didn't dive into that video, I suggest watching that next. It's right here. It will really give you an idea of how to use the breaks and the melodies and get them all working together in harmony, and then produce tracks just like this. I hope it's been helpful for you guys. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.